Welcome to my budget deck channel where I try to make decks as cheap and playable as possible. So if this is something you'd be interested in, then why not subscribe? So let's explore the new pack. Let's see, what does this pack have on offer? What can we do with these cards? Is it worth buying this pack, or should you just craft the cards yourself? We will find out, because we will be going through all the cards together and also talking a bit about what's new in here, what isn't, what's old. And you can already see, we start with this one because we can see there's an Armed Dragon level 10 white in here. Oof, controversial. One of the cards that, well, are kind of needed for the Armed Dragon deck, but I don't think that necessarily had to be included in here. I know there's some support in here for Armed Dragon, but you could have filled those slots a tiny bit nicer, Konami, I feel like. The Springans one does make some sense. Technically, you could have also put the big one in. It is what it is. I guess it's nice to pick up one or two of this if you're interested in building Springans now that the new card is out. So there's that. And one card we hopefully do not have to talk about is Elemental Hero Neos Alias, Elias, whatever you want to call it. This card should not be a super rare in no capacity, and it should not be in this pack. Okay, so there is that. Other than that, one of the other ones, one of the old ones, is the Abyss Playhouse, and I'm really happy this card's in here because I have not picked this up. The only Abyss Actor card that I haven't played so far because I felt like it was really bricky because you couldn't search it, and now you can. So including this in this pack is very, very helpful, especially because you don't really need it more than once. So there's that, and you will be picking up one of them if you go for stuff like the Abyss Actors in here anyway, then that isn't too bad. But let's see if I even want to open this pack, and let's see if you should. We have Sprite Sprint. Most of the TCG, OCG players will know this card. It's one of the link monsters that isn't banned, so one of the ones that you can still play. And it sends stuff to the graveyard. You can target monster on the field and return it to the hand. It's a nice, neat additional engine to Sprite. You probably get away with running 1, 2 wouldn't be too bad. But I will say this here, I will not do any more Sprite profiles for the foreseeable future till the next ban list, because there is a big chance that some of the old Sprite cards get, well, hit a bit more now, because that's how it's been in the TCG and in the OCG. So yes, if I include this instantly, then we know what's going to happen. Plus, it's another ultra rare, and the deck already has enough of those. Maybe I'll do an updated pure Sprite version, but I'm not sure that is worth it, because that will just be cut down by the madness again, and some of the extra deck cards might leave at one point, and it's a bit annoying. So yeah, this one card shouldn't make too much of a difference for these deck profiles. So if you want to grab one of them, then that's fine. You don't have to open the pack for this, because obviously one should be okay, but even then you'd have to invest 2 ultra rare tickets. Still better than opening a pack if you're not interested in anything else in this one. We have Tri-Brigade Arms, Bucephalus II. I don't know, it's a Tri-Brigade boss monster that you can't really go into with their trap card that much, because you need to have 3 or more Tri-Brigade spell traps in your graveyard. I think that also applies to being special summoned by the effect, because obviously it says special summon from the extra deck, so it's not just a link summon or whatnot. You actually have to have this condition fulfilled, even if you go for the trap, if I'm not mistaken, so there's that. It's a nice card, but also one-off, definitely. Maybe it's not the craziest card that you should open a whole pack for, but it's definitely a good card to have, especially if you play in any kind of Tri-Brigade or even any kind of Beast Warrior or Beast deck in general. The problem is with this, you need to splash some Tri-Brigade, because you do need 3 Tri-Brigade spells in your graveyard, so otherwise you cannot summon this. So you can't just play it in like Lunar Lights and just be like, oh yeah, I can always go into this, because you can't. We have the card that I've been waiting for, Abyss Actor Super Producer. Oh, I love Abyss Actors, and this will be the first deck profile on here. Never mind all the Bestial stuff or any of the things that people are looking for, like branded, because it's too expensive anyway. This is what you're getting if you subscribe to my channel. A new Abyss Actor deck profile, because the deck changes quite a lot anyway. And this will be one of them, so I will definitely aim to pick up at least one of them, but technically kind of 2. But annoyingly, Abyss Actors aren't that cheap on the ultra rare side, because 2 of their main cards in the deck are actually ultra rares, and yeah, that can cause a bit of a problem. Now 3 cards, because obviously this one is as well. Very nice effect for the deck in general, very easy to go into, very strong card. We have Gigantic Champion Sargas, and it's neither a Therion card nor is it a Springans card. Bit annoying, but this card does lots for, well, I want to say both decks, mainly for Springans, I think. Therion, you could run it in it, of course, but it can just search the Therion engine within Springans, so that's not bad as well. It has lots of effects that are very good. A definite pick up if you played any of these cards, and I will do a updated profile on that one as well, because, well, The thing is that, yeah, Springans were a budget deck so far, so a few of the other cards you can easily cram in and the deck won't be too expensive because you do get away with one champion at the start, and then possibly two would be a bit better eventually. We have Wake Up Your Elemental Heroes. I'm not talking much about this card. I'm not a hero player because heroes have always been gatekept by, in any online simulator that isn't a free one like any Konami simulator, by being incredibly expensive, and Master Duel is no different from Duel Links in that regard. So yes, this card can be a great card, but you know what it is. We have Garura, Wings of Resonant Life, obviously an super polymerization target because this one, two monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. You can also, I'm pretty sure, use it in tier elements because that's really what we needed, another tier element card. Yay. Any battle damage your opponent takes from battles involving this card is doubled. Ooh, it can be quite nice if the opponent's board is non-existent, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can draw one card. So interesting card for sure. We have the Dusk Dragon, another card that is a, well, Despia, Dogmatica, kind of, you know how they all are combined, these archetypes, and you need the new Blazing Cartesia, which we will be talking about in a second, and One Light, a Dark Monster, so this is another branded-ish kind of card, or in a Despia deck. You can technically probably play it in some Dogmatica versions, but yeah, probably a pick up for certain decks, for certain people. I will not be looking to pick this up because the whole branded stuff has spiraled out of control when it comes to pricing of cards, so I will not be going down that route, sadly. I know, because the theme looks quite nice. I mean, look at this artwork, it is amazing. It doesn't really matter though. Then we have another one of those, Rindbrom the Striking Dragon, which is a card, if I'm not mistaken, kind of for Tri-Brigade in a sense, but you would have to be playing Fallen of Albas. I don't know where exactly you play this card. There's probably some ways or some decks where you can play this, and the effect is fairly decent actually, so it's not too bad, but you kind of need your, well, you need a Fallen of Albas for it, or otherwise this is a bit problematic. We have Dogmatica Alba Zoa, one of the crazy rituals now, level 12 though. Oof. The effect is quite nice. You can probably make like a Dogmatica ritual deck, but it will be very expensive because obviously you need some generic ritual stuff, and the Dogmatica things aren't cheap at all. Now that explains why some of the Dogmatica stuff came off the ban list, or like it's now semi-limited, because obviously we need to sell this pack, and if you have Dogmatica things, then we do need the Searcher for it, so no big surprise here. Very, very expensive cards. Maybe you'll get away with just playing one of this. Never really looked into the rituals. Seems to be a decent card, but I don't know how easy it is to get out of your deck, out of your hand. Plus, you do need very specific cards for Dogmatica for your extra deck, and they all tend to be super rare or ultra rare most of the time. So not really a budget deck either. We have this card. I'll skip over this real quick. Oh, the one-off Bestial Magnamort ultra rare. Yay! You can always craft these. This is probably the kind of engine that you would be most looking for. Like if you're a fan of Bestials and if you are a fan of branded, then you should probably open this pack because there's lots of stuff in here that you can use, and crafting them all by themselves would probably be too expensive. So there's that. They all have this effect where they target light and dark monsters in the graveyard, banish them, then special summon themselves, and then do some shenanigans. Had to limit the Dragon Searcher because this card can be quite obnoxious in any Dragon Link variants, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, put it down to one. That's what we're doing. I like that Konami has addressed this now quite extremely, I want to say, in comparison to other decks. Tier elements were addressed but didn't really do all that much, and still to this point aren't really addressed. So crazy that they already decided to, oh no, this is a one-off, we don't trust this around other people. Then we have the Bestial Lubellion, very, very nice card, kind of like the boss monster of these decks, ish, because it searches your stuff, so that's quite nice. Sends things sends itself to the graveyard from your hand, so you want to run 3 of this. So it's out of contention for me anyway, because it's an ultra rare, so we don't really care about it, but we have the whole branded crossover with these ones as well. There is Blazing Cartesia, the Virtuous, very, very, very strong card. I really hoped it was a super rare and not an ultra rare. I wanted to play this in Witchcrafter, at least at like 1 or 2, because this effect is not too bad. You can special summon it if you have a Fallen of Albas, but that's usually not what it is. But you can fusion summon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from the extra deck. Is a spellcaster, so that helps. It's a tuner, so that can do lots of different things. And during the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you can add this card from the graveyard to your hand. So this is a very neat addition for Witchcrafters as well. That will make the deck significantly more expensive, because for this effect to be really helpful, you would need to, well, run multiple of this and multiple of the fusion, which are both ultra rare. So yes, not really the budget card I've been hoping for, sadly. We have Merrymaker, interesting card. We have the Miro Logic Aggregator, a very interesting card, and definitely if you want to be playing like a rank 9 deck, then it's not a bad card to play. But with this one, again, you have to run something in the extra deck that does stuff, and that will be like a more expensive card. Probably in Generators, this won't be too bad, I guess. It is what it is. The effects are nice, can do lots of different things, so a nice pickup if you get it at 1, but I don't think you need it at any more, really. We have Wallow, founder of the Drudge Dragons. It's probably kind of meant to be a bit for the Bestials, but in the end, it's also not bad in Vampires, because it summons stuff back from the opponent's graveyard, so if you mill their stuff, that can be quite nice, and then you can't set things. One off probably wouldn't be too bad, but it's also not like an amazing card in any capacity here. We have one Grand Merge. This is also one of the old cards, if I'm not mistaken. An interesting pickup for certain hero variants, and I might be using this for something. I might be making a hero budget deck, but it's going to be very different from normal hero decks. Trust me on that one. It's going to be a lot more control-y than the OTK variants usually are. We have Armed Neos. That is the crossover I was talking about, Neos plus Armed Dragon. The card is nice, and it's a super rare, and you probably don't need that much of it. Is the deck good? Can't say. Haven't played it at all. This went over my head. The effect is fine. If it's special summoned, you can choose one dragon monster in your graveyard and destroy all monsters your opponent controls with an equal or lower level than it. So it doesn't do anything against Link decks and Xyz decks. That's one of the downsides. And when this card destroys a monster of battle, you can make this card gain the following effect. During the main phase, you contribute this card special summon one elemental hero fusion monster from the extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. Very, very good. That's a very strong one. Obviously, but this effect is mainly for a go second deck, so can be problematic to build a deck that does enough going first to survive the ladder and also is good enough going second. You have to splash lots of hand traps in, because obviously go second decks are a bit weaker on a budget, because yeah, you need to find ways to deal with your opponent's boards, and hand traps aren't cheap. We have this one. Oof, let's not look at it. We have all the Bestials. They are all at super rare. They all do stuff. This one also limited already. Interesting, interesting, interesting. That is the one that sends stuff to the graveyard, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. Oh no, you can target one special summon monster. Yeah, send it to the graveyard. That is that one. So lack of removal now. Interesting. So there you go on that route. We have the boss monster here as well, where you have to tribute to Bestial monsters. And then the effect of this card, very strong. You could play like a pure Bestial version if you want to. Don't think this has ever been done to a competitive level that was anywhere good, but this effect is quite nice. It's a bit of a floodgate where you have to invest a bit more into it than some of the trap floodgates, so I don't know how good it is, and also it's easier to remove then, because there's more monster removal, I feel like, than any of the spell trap removal. So yeah, it can be. It sounds very strong, but in the end it's probably okay. It's quite nice that if it does leave the field, then you can banish all face down cards in the extra decks face up until your opponent's end phase, so not a bad effect to then let your opponent not go into any more crazy shenanigans. It's okay. Like, you can probably play it in some purish version. I don't know how good that works though with the limit of 2 of the other cards anyway. Bestial Baldrake is the card I'm actually looking for, because I like this card, because you can special summon from your hand, and if your opponent controls a monster, then you can quick effect, if your opponent special summons a Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster, tribute one other light or dark monster and target one of those monsters, banish it. That is a good card to mix in any kind of light or dark deck that uses the graveyard, or is at least like slightly a combo deck. So I feel like this card, very, very nice pickup for me. And we have some Mystical Beast of the Forest. Obviously, you don't want to open the pack for this one. It's not a bad card. It does enough for the deck. It's really like a good pickup, but you do not want to open the pack just because of this card. The Theater is a nice card. We have Branded Regained, interesting card. I don't think this needed to be a super rare. It's good, like it does stuff, but also it's Bestial stuff, so I feel like they should really have had some cards that aren't super rare, but it is what it is. We have Tally-Ho Springans, the card that is incredible and also obviously super rare, annoyingly, but this card can do so much. But you have to detach up to 3 materials from a monster you control. Obviously that is not too hard to do for Springans, because they can all attach themselves to the Xyz monsters and so on and so on and so on. Plus, if you then get Zargas on top of it, then you have even more material, and since it doesn't say detached from a Springans monster, you can easily do that. And you can special summon lots of things. It's like a soul charge for the deck. If doing a main phase, this card is in the graveyard, you can target what exists monster field, detach one material from it, and add this card to your hand. So you can keep doing this again. Very, very good pickup, but does make the deck a tiny bit more expensive. We have Dogmatica Matrix, also a very, very interesting card. Very good for the ritual things, and it searches your stuff, but also super rare, so a bit annoying for playing this as like a ritual engine. I kind of wish this was a rare, but I understand why it isn't. We have Abyss Actor's Dress Rehearsal, and you can see my voice lighting up when I see these cards. Annoyingly, I thought this was going to be a super rare. I'm already glad that the other one isn't, so I have enough space in the deck to make this work. It's not too bad, so we are at that rate here. At the start of the main phase, you can add one Abyss Actor card, one Abyss Script spell from your deck to your hand. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot pendulum summon monsters except Abyss Actors. Very crazy card if you think about it. It pluses you, it sets up plays. The deck already has quite a lot of searchers, but that makes it even more now. We have Branded Befallen, another card that I wish wasn't a super rare, but is what it is. At this point, the Bestials are just not a cheap deck whatsoever. Sorry, that's what it is, that's what you came for, that's what you're getting. I'm not saying much about them then, and that is it with the super rares and the ultra rares. There are some new cards in here in the rare slots as well, not much. We have Dragon ordered on Wish, so we have this one. We have some other shenanigans that don't do all that much. We have some cards that might be helpful. This card becomes Great Sansi Gold Golgonda, can be very helpful for spring and stuff, potentially. We have Tri-Brigade Showdown, another Tri-Brigade Spell Trap, very helpful for the extra deck monster, for example. We have Light of the Branded, a branded card that isn't high rarity. Look at this, it's not the craziest card, so that's probably why. And we obviously have Abyss Script, Dramatic Story. I didn't get away with not mentioning this card, obviously, because this is at least a good one-off and can help you do some go first play, something that Abyss Actors have struggled with so far, actually. So there is that. We have some other branded stuff, Branded Beast, and one card I do have to mention because it's very nice is Sprite Double Cross. This card is a rare, well, surprisingly. So Sprite have got a new toy to play with, and that is the reason why I might have to at least update my pure Sprite deck, because this card does lots. It's a good search of Jet, and it can be super helpful for your deck. So this card's, yeah, definite include in the deck. Probably a one-off, but I'm not 100% sure about this. And we have Protection of the Elements. Very interesting card that I might use for the control E-Hero deck, because when a spell trap is activated, banish one face up E-Hero monster you control until the end phase, negate the activation if you do destroy the card. Very, very good. Sadly, only for spell traps, but is what it is. If you control Terra Firma, I'm not sure if I'm going to make a Terra Firma deck. Depends on, I don't know if it's an ultra or super rare right now. If it isn't, then I might. If it is, then I'm not going to bother with this. You can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon one of your elemental hero monsters that is banished. Interesting, or in your hand or graveyard, ignoring the summoning conditions. Very, very neat and interesting card to play with. Don't think there's a way to search this. I'm not mistaken. I might have to check on this one, but yeah, can be decent in certain hero decks, because spell traps were always kind of a problem, because like, let's look at your board. You have like lots of different hero monsters and hero monsters in general. Your opponent activates Raigeki and you just fold, because not much protection, not much spell trap negation, but this one can make the difference. Not sure if it will, but it is an interesting one for sure. And then we have some Fisher Searcher, interesting, smashing a Fisher Searcher at level 6, nice. If it was like a normal summonable level 4, I would have contemplated running this, especially because it's a Beast Warrior, but as a level 6 that cannot easily special summon itself, I do not think that I will be doing any sort of Fisher control with this one. And we have Abyss Actor, Liberty Dramatist. Don't like the card, just saying it outright. I feel like the discard is way too much as a condition here, and the other effects do very little for the deck. It's a level 8, so well, 8 scale. Your 8 scales aren't that great, so technically you could run it at 1 if you want to, but I feel like the other one that swaps positions of the monsters and your opponent's monsters, the creatures swap 1, is a tiny bit better, so I'd rather run like 2 or 3 of that and none of this one, because I don't like it. And we have a Gigantic Thundercross, an interesting card nonetheless, obviously one that you can craft, and I don't think many people are going to be playing. It is an interesting card though, but your opponent gets to special summon a monster from their deck. So what would I say about this pack? This pack has lots of power cards in here, and this is where it kind of stops, because the thing is, lots of these power cards are like 1 or 2 offs at max, and you can easily craft them yourself. So opening this pack because you're looking at one specific archetype or one specific deck doesn't really make much sense. Even if you're playing like Abyss Actors, you really want to open this pack a lot and then get like 1 or 2 super producers, maybe, possibly, or 1, 2, 3 of the super rare spell cards. And then in the end up with lots of different stuff like branded things and bestial things that you won't be able to use because you don't have the full set of them, and you're not interested in these decks. Not really makes much sense. If you're into bestials, if you really want to be playing this engine, and it's a good engine, it's a meta-defining engine, then it makes sense to go into this pack. Obviously, a bit dramatic. You will pick up very interesting tidbitty cards here and there alongside of it, which is what I kind of like about it, because then it encourages you, well played Konami, to buy other decks, to go into certain other decks, look into them, what can I do with these cards, like Gigantic Champion Sargas. Oh, I got one of those. What are those? Springans. And then you look into that, and you possibly even got like 1 or 2 of their new quick spell, and you can do lots of stuff with this, and then you craft more decks, and you can go into that as well. So it should be an okay pack to invest, unless you really do not care about bestials and branded stuff. Then just skip that pack, buy the cards that you want separately, and or craft them. So you can't buy them, you have to craft them, obviously. Other than that, yes, it's good for bestials, and it's somewhat decent for some branded stuff, but even that, not necessarily that crazy for it. Every other card is a nice to have, and I feel like the ultra rares and super rares that are in here are quite good for the fact that they're ultra and super rare, but obviously spread across multiple different archetypes. So opening this pack is a bit of a 50-50. It's a good pack, but is it a good pack to open if you don't care about bestials? So there's that, food for thought. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for the inevitable Abyss Actor deck profile, and I hope you have a nice day.